Installing modules instead of global imports can make an impact on the size of the compiled project that you deploy. Let's take a look. If you go and install a library called Create React App Bundle Analyzer, so I'm going to install it with the dev flag, so it's going to put it as a dev dependency, and Create React App Bundle Analyzer. There are a few of those, and what they do is they take your bundle and analyze it. So if you haven't used that before, I recommend this library, but there's a few others that do the same job. So wait for the installation to complete. Installation is complete. We can run the Create React App Bundle Analyzer. To run it, just type in yarn analyzer, and if you open up the package JSON, you can see that it's actually built already into the task. So if you look at the run scripts, you'll see there's a script that ties into the yarn analyzer, and what it does, it creates that the production build, and then it's gonna run to analyze that. So here, take a look. See in the scripts, let's find it, coverage, analyze. So inside of Create React App must-have libraries, I put two tasks for you, Analyze and Analyzer. And one of them is using Source Map Explorer, and the other one is using that Bundle Analyzer. So you can try both of them and see the difference. Once you have to wait, it takes some time to build the optimized version and run the report. Hold on. Once it's complete, it's going to create this map that shows you all the library and the size of your bundle. And there's few things to take a look at. If you click here on the left on the caret, you see the size. So we have three tree map sizes. We have the stats, the parsed, and the gzipped. What's the difference between them? So the stat, this is the size before it was optimized. So you can see that the size before optimized is 538 kilobyte. Parsed means this is after optimized. So after the library got optimized for production build, the size is 217 kilobyte. And gzipped is in case the bundle is sent over, is zipped and sent as a zipped file, it reduced the size to 68. Then on the end of the client, it needs to be unzipped in order to view that. So you could see the difference. From 538, it went down to 217, and if we use gzipped, it's 68 kilobyte. Now in this version, I'm not using D3 yet. So let's use D3 and let's see how much it affects our bundle analyzer. If you go into the source component README, we have those templates that we can use to quickly build our component. So let's use the rectangle component. We've been using this before, and we're just going to create a component called rectangle. So that's going to install it inside of our component. And then one more thing is we're going to install D3 as a global library and the D3 module we're going to be using. So do yarn add D3 and the types D3. And also what we can do is install the D3 module we're going to be using. The only module we're really going to be using is the D3 selection. So let's create another terminal tab, and let's install the D3 selection and the D3 selection types. So this is just the module. This is not the entire D3 library. And in the other tab, I'm installing the entire D3 library. And let's open up our component and let's take a look for a second what's happening. If you look at the code, we're importing D3 as a global library, the entire thing. So even though we're only using if you look at the code, let's minimize this, and you see what we're using. We're only using the D3 select, but I'm importing the entire D3 library. Now this has effect on the bundle. So if I'm gonna run again the yarn analyzer, let's just look at terminal. Let's make sure all the installation is complete. So run again the yarn analyzer, and that's gonna generate a new report for us after we added the component. Sorry, I forgot to do one thing, is we need to include that component inside of our code, because if we don't include it, it's not gonna map to it. So let's include the rectangle component. And once we have that included, we can let's compile and run the analyzer. Now that the build is complete, let's take a look. If you look at the version we had before, the stat was 538, and after we included D3, the size of the stat is 667, right? Now if you look for D3 specifically, let's take a look. There's two approaches. You can just look at the heat map and find it. Here it is. And once you hover, you could see the size, 127 kilobyte, or you can click the caret and you can just type it in the search module and it will highlight it, and then you could see the size. So it looks like it takes about 127 kilobyte as stats, or if you look at parsed, it's about 37 kilobyte D3. Now if we do the same thing, go back to our code, and this time instead of importing D3, let's go and just import the rectangle. Let's just import the library we need. And really the library we need, we don't need the entire D3 global, we can just import the select. So if we type in import D3 selection, and in our bracket we just put the component, the module we need, selector, and now, I'm sorry, select we need, not selector. Oops. Select. Okay. And now in our code, instead of doing D3 select, we can just call select because I put it in a bracket. So now I changed it and I'm only using the module I need instead of using the entire library. And let's generate another analyzer code. Take a look. Now go back to the browser. We have a new report ready for us. So if we compare the previous report, if you remember, D3 took 255 kilobyte as the module, and it increased our library altogether to 666 from 538. And if we look at this version, and you type in d3, now parsed we're only using altogether for the two libraries 24 kilobyte and parse. And if we look at the stats, only 54 kilobyte. So we were able to really reduce significantly. So in our previous version for the entire module, D3 took altogether 255, and we reduced it to 55. See? So we reduced 200 kilobyte by just mentioning the module we're using instead of bringing the entire kitchen sink. And that goes for every library. One point that I want to make is that in our library we have the complete D3 globally installed, but because we're not using it, our production optimized build does not include the entire module. So you can go ahead and remove, you can use yarn and remove D3 just to clean up your project if you're not using it, but it's not necessary. So as long as we're not making an import statement, it's not going to include it in the final build.